Good afternoon. Welcome once again to the Gain Line here on Wales Online. Wales v Scotland goes ahead, so it's time to predict what might happen. Here to help us do that are Simon Thomas, who you'll recognise, and I'm delighted to say we've got Rob Robertson from the Scottish Daily Mail here. Rob, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
As always, we want to hear from you as well, so please do get your comments and questions in. Rob, let's start with the fact you're here, I suppose.
That's a plus.
Are you pleased to be here, surprised,
John,
or astonished?
Somebody who's been at this business longer than me.
40
We
years.
knew we'd find someone somewhere, yeah. I mean, are you surprised to be here with this game going on, with everything that's happened?
Yes, I am. I'm very surprised, but delighted, because I think the game should go ahead. I know a lot of people won't agree with me on that one. It's not a good look when every other game is off, but it's really late in the day now. There's thousands of Scottish fans in airports and on the trains on Thursday, so be even more today. They're all here. I think there's no going back now. I think it will go ahead. Not saying it's the right decision from a health point of view, but certainly he's made a lot of Scots happy who are in Cardiff just now.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, it's an unprecedented situation, Simon. And from the WRU's perspective, they're getting a lot of pelters on this, aren't they? Because the game's going ahead, and pretty much every other sporting fixture in the world, it seems, is being called off.
We're talking about people self-isolating for coronavirus. Well, the WRU is a bit isolated now, really, isn't it? Because it's pretty much the only show in town. As every sort of half hour goes by, we see something else falls by the wayside. Rob's just came in and told us that Celtic Rangers, you know, if that goes...
That is huge. That is
when
huge.
When that's called off, you know, don't you?
Yeah.
Just to clarify with people, because I mean, you know, you take reflective abuse sometimes, and I try to explain why the game is going ahead, and as obviously a lot of people disagree with it. The reasoning is that from the outset, the Welsh Rugby Union said they would make the decision, or they would follow the advice and the instructions from the government and from the health experts and from all the relevant agencies. Now, we saw yesterday with the government press conference of Boris Johnson and with Vaughan Gething, the Welsh Health Minister. Vaughan Gething said the game goes ahead, so there's no instruction to cancel from the Welsh Assembly. And the message from Boris Johnson and from the Chief Scientific Advisors, Patrick Vallance, was that they didn't at this moment feel that cancelling sporting events is the way forward in terms of dealing with the epidemic. So that, having decided to follow the advice, that's what they've now done. What's happened, of course, subsequently is a stream of other events, in particular perhaps the Premier League, that's gone. Until April, I think 4th, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Pro 14 tournament is off. So people are saying, why on earth are that? There obviously are different situations. Pro 14, 3 of the countries have got restrictions on games, and there's travel issues as well. And I think, as far as I can make it, in the Premier League, it's been spurred by a couple of players, testing positive, and the feeling is that, with a couple of clubs affected, cancel it all. With Wales and Scotland, as far as we know, nobody has tested positive from the camp, so away we go and ahead we go.
I totally agree with all of that, but what slightly concerns me over this is a lot of the people I came down from Scotland with had been in Italy only a few weeks ago. Now I don't know what the time frame is for carrying it, but a lot of them have been in Italy and are now in Wales and be cheek by jowl with Welsh people. It doesn't sound terribly healthy to me. And as Simon was saying, it comes down to the Welsh Assembly having to make a final decision. I think that it could change. It could change.
Well, this late in the day.
I hope it doesn't. But you could argue, never in a million years as a Scotsman did I ever think Celtic versus Rangers would be called off for anything. And that's been called off. So that has made me think, well, wait a minute.
I suppose
it could still go.
I think the only way it gets cancelled now is if somebody from either camp tests positive. I mean, as of this week, we were told the Welsh players hadn't tested, I think, so I guess unless someone shows the symptoms of it, I think it'll go ahead.
And what about the crowd? I mean, say it's a 75,000 seller. How many people
I reckon there'll be a lot of empty seats.
Do you think there'll be?
I think because Wales have struggled in the Championship, lost 3 in a row, I think a lot of clubs who had got tickets, and that's all the clubs get allocated all the tickets and then pass, they sold to members or people who, sponsors, so forth. I think the clubs will probably struggle to get rid of tickets anyway, and now a lot of people who did have tickets, especially if they were going with an elderly relative or something, I think there'll be a lot of people not going.
Well, see, I think that's fine from the Welsh side, because again, as I was saying, nobody from Wales has been in Italy at a game. The famous Hoyt Club, they left on Thursday. God knows what kind of state they'll be at the Welsh Rugby Club they're at just now, but a lot of them were in Italy, and they'll be coming to the game come hell or high water. I think the problem is from my side, Simon, rather than the Welsh side.
Yeah.
The people coming in from Scotland. That's the problem.
Some people have said to me also, John, why isn't it being played behind closed doors? Well, they decided that really isn't a go. I mean, we saw the scenes in Paris this week. Paris Saint-Germain playing behind closed doors, and there was 20,000, about 5,000 outside. Yeah. So if you cancelled it in terms of if you played it behind closed doors, you just had even more people in the pubs in Cardiff.
Well, not even that. You have hairy Scots standing in the street drinking beer outside, and it's just going to be silly. So it either goes ahead or it doesn't. Probably selfishly, I'd love it to go ahead, but even now, I still think that's a little bit thinking to myself, could they cancel it because it's not a good look politically, and that's maybe where it comes down to.
Watch this space.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Space. Okay, but we'll leave that there for now. We'll probably come back to it later in the show. Lots of comments probably coming in on that. Now, that hasn't been the only story this week. Joe Marler, of course, has been a man in the headlines, banned for 10 weeks yesterday afternoon. Here's a little clip of what Wayne Pivac had to say about that incident at his press conference yesterday.
He was very angry and frustrated at the end of the game last week after the incident with Joe Marler. You've had a few days to reflect on it, look at the video. Do you share that anger and frustration?
Yeah, his frustration wasn't with any organisation. It was the fact that the matter wasn't dealt with on the field at the time, and that's what he was trying to express, that the processes that will follow, they'll take their due course. But he was just frustrated that if something happens, sanction later on, that doesn't change the game. Where what would have happened if the TMO had spoken to the referee? What's sanctioned during a game for that? Would it have been a red card? Could have been a different test match. We could be alive in the competition. So his frustration is around the fact that I think thousands of people saw the event at the time, barring the people that were looking at the video.
There's been a huge debate as to the nature of Marler's actions, whether it was assault or just rugby banter. What do you think is the lesson that needs to be learnt from the whole thing?
I think there's just no place for that in the game, whether it's banter or the more serious one, which you mentioned. So, look, we're role models. We're all role models for the young people, the next generation of player, and there are rules in the game, and you can't go outside those rules. If you do, then you face punishment.
Okay, Simon, shortly after that press conference, Marler got his 10-week ban. Been quite a reaction to that. Some people think not long enough, other people think it's outrageous for something that was pretty innocuous, in their words. And of course, the French prop, Mohamed Houmas, thank you for helping me out with that one, much appreciated. Only got a 3-week ban for punching a Scottish player square in the face. So you can see why people are confused about the disciplinary process.
Yeah, again, I guess you go back to the regulations, you go back to the laws, and the entry point, which is the phrase we use in terms of the Marler incident, the area it covered, that was entry point of 12 weeks. Now, perhaps you could argue that it might have gone under a different rule, but there is a specific subclauses in the rule that he's been punished for, which mentions sort of the genitalia. So, I mean, it's pretty clear. I think it had to be under that. And once the committee looked at that and decided, low entry point, 12 weeks is the minimum, it was always going to be around that mark, wasn't it? And I think it probably was right that he did receive a fairly lengthy ban, because it's just it's just inappropriate in the game, and it just looked bad. I know it's divided opinion. I know there are people out there who say it goes on all the time, banter, blah blah blah. Well, to be honest, it doesn't go on all the time in professional rugby. It's very rare, and I'm not even sure. Having spoken to my local club, I was just chatting to a few people this week. How often does that happen? It's not a regular thing. I don't. But do you agree, Rob? Or not?
Perhaps not.
I thought it was. I laughed loudly when it happened. I defy anybody not to have laughed loudly when you see, even now, when you see the pictures, Alan Wynn's face, the way Joe Marler did it. I defy anybody not to laugh loudly at the time. Then you look at it again and you think, oh, wait a minute, maybe not as funny as it should be. He deserved the ban. He did not deserve a 10-week ban for that. Never in a million years. Punching a guy, people are going, oh, that's happened in the past. So what if it happened in the 70s? I mean, that was the wild days. It's nothing to be proud of. He punched a guy in the face. If you did that in the street, you'd be sent to prison. Now, people would argue what Marler did could have ended up him in court as well. I accept that. But part of me thinks Marler, Wyn Jones, friends, maybe not the greatest of friends. Funny, yes it was. Outrageous and weird, very much so. But I cannot see why you'd ban somebody for 10 weeks. I tweeted out a piece saying that I felt the ban should have been the other way around. He should have got 3 weeks, and the French prop should have got 10 weeks. Oh my goodness, did that split opinion? Some people were with me, but the people who were against it, oh my goodness.
So what you're saying essentially is you think the sanction framework is imbalanced.
It's imbalanced, and it's a step back to the past when maybe punching did happen. People from that generation are thinking, oh, it's just a punch. Yeah, no, that's worse. That's worse just because you got away with it in the 70s or the 80s, and people went, oh, that's quite funny, it was just a punch, and they had a pint in the bar. Doesn't make it right.
Sam Lucy, the Scarlets prop, has just had 5 weeks. He threw 2 punches during 2 different players in the Munster game.
Well, yeah, there you go. I mean, why accept that? Just because it was a previous generation in the amateur era that happened, and people got away with it. Doesn't make it right. Times move on. Yeah. I'm not saying what Marler did was right. I would use the word very weird. What goes your mind to think, I know what I'm going to do next? I'll give him a willy tug. You know, why would you do that? Why on earth would you do that?
It's just
I think it's gone beyond that.
That's just weird.
Yeah,
Nobody in their right mind would think of that. But it's not as bad as punching a guy in the face in front of 70,000 people.
He is a complete one-off.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
And his mind seems to work in different ways to most people. You know, his 3-word tweet, which I won't say again, kind of summed up his mindset on the whole.
I think he's deleted his Twitter account this morning.
Yes, he has. But do you not think, though, just for that reason, that the reason, probably one part of the other reason I laughed at that was because it was Joe Marler. And I knew he was quite funny in the past. If it was another player, I'd have gone straight to weird.
The only thing I'd say about Marler is he does have past record of disciplinary issues.
Yeah.
So it's not as if this is a one-off. You know, you go back 4 years to the Gypsy Boy situation in Wales. There's been a few, foul play incidents as well. Yeah. So I think that probably had to be taken into account as well.
Exactly. Just can I put both of you on the spot?
Yes, go on.
Did you both laugh at the time, initially, straight after that happened?
I mean, I actually rang John. I saw it and rang John straight away and I said, did you see that? I mean, I was watching it on the little screen at Twickenham, and for me it was like, God, I think part of me went story, and probably more so than anything. Yeah. Listen, he is a comic character, but I think he overstepped the mark quite badly.
Did you laugh, John?
We did. Well, I was in the office, and we did laugh. And then we were stunned. And then
that's exactly it. That's when you go through, isn't it?
This is a story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But here we go.
Well, this whole episode has summed up the reaction out there, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Lots of different nuances to the argument.
Totally.
Yeah, quite a couple of comments just coming here. 100% should have had a longer ban. Says
no.
12 weeks is the least he should have had.
No,
hang him.
You're in Wales.
No, not having that. Not having that. No.
Fair enough. Then, of course, somebody who hasn't been banned but was sort of slightly reprimanded by his own union was Eddie Jones after that game. Like those comments, which basically suggesting the ref was biased. Wales had a 16th man. Are we surprised?
Well, I was in that press conference, and you just sit there. I mean, and sometimes Eddie says nothing, but when he says something, he really goes for it. I mean, he was completely out of order because the bottom line is, just about everybody would now accept that what Manu Tuilagi did was a red card offence. He was never legal in the tackle. There was a shoulder charge to the head. I think you could see from his reaction afterwards. He knew what he'd done. Absolutely. 4 weeks is about right for it. Eddie Jones was totally out of order to make the comments he did, suggesting there was bias on the behalf of Ben O'Keefe, because it was the right call. And to be honest, the RFU statement that was put out yesterday was the mildest of rap over the knuckles. And it wasn't even to the extent of saying Eddie Jones apologised. It was, we will pass on our apology. And then right at the end, they'd say, we want a conference to discuss it, almost suggesting, we still think there was an issue.
Yeah, it was.
How can they, I think somebody tweeted out today, one of our colleagues, saying, how on earth can they now reprimand any director of rugby in England who makes a comment of that nature about a referee?
It saved them though, didn't it? It saved them from a lot of further bans and things. You're right, he was totally and utterly out of order on it because he got it wrong. And again, it comes back to talking about the Marler thing. Is that partly his generation? You think he still can't accept the rules, which shows that was definitely a red card. He thinks from his generation, that was just one of these things from the past, should never have happened.
Yeah.
But the fact he's obviously got so much power even over the English Rugby Union, because surely somebody has to say him before he goes in there, listen, please, that was a red card, whatever you think, don't criticise. And he does.
I mean, he's a track record. There was the comment he made earlier in the campaign, which about which one journalist took offence to, I think, wasn't there, when he had to apologise over that?
Yeah,
as well.
that's right. Yeah,
You know, sort of making reference to his background. You know, it's
there's a fine line. 'Cause
he steps over that line almost as often as Mr. Marler does.
yeah, you know, I agree. But the only problem I always have with these things is, as a journalist, do you want him to be bland? Okay, he was completely out of order here, but journalistically, it's manna from heaven. You know,
This
when
is
you
the
have somebody
problem.
who actually is. To be fair to him, he's being honest, I suppose, in his own right. He was wrong, but at least he's speaking out.
You have to be careful in our job because you can't be too po-faced about
No,
it.
exactly,
Because,
exactly.
you know, the online traffic we've had covering those stories this week has been enormous.
That's exactly
and
it.
it is gold dust for us as journalists.
Yeah.
But then you probably do still have to be able to step outside that and say, for the greater good of the game, it ain't
that's
good
wrong.
enough.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the game then, which...
Is there a game going on?
Is there? Never.
is going to
How do you know?
happen,
You never know.
As of now.
If I'm now there.
How good is Scotland?
Scotland.
Did they only beat France because they
had 14 men. Probably, actually. But if you look at Scotland, the way they have played in this championship, we came into this with Gregor Townsend's job on the line. He was going to get sacked after the early exit from the World Cup. And after that first game against Ireland, I thought, oh, bye-bye, Gregor, nice to see you. The England game, you can't read anything into that. It was just a nonsense. Absolute nonsense. And they beat Grand Slam chasing France. Yeah, they were down to 14 men. Okay, maybe that's down to Scottish discipline. They never punched anybody. So you just see, you gauge it on what's in front of you. They've had one decent game against England, destroyed Italy, zeroed them, and they've beaten France. And that is without Finn Russell, remember. Finn Russell isn't going to play in the Six Nations. Seems a long time ago,
isn't it?
and people aren't really talking about him anymore. So you don't have any Finn Russell in there, and they're doing really well. So I really do think the Scotland team have the potential to beat Wales for the first time. I think Simon was telling me 2002, or run them close. Because the pressure is off. Gregor Townsend will be in his job at the end of the Six Nations. It's a free hit.
Now, at the start of the championship, at the Six Nations launch, I interviewed Rob and I asked him what he thought was going to happen in the championship. I don't know if you remember what you said. One of the things that you predicted was probably another hammering for Scotland against Wales. So this shows to me that Scotland have probably exceeded what you thought.
Oh, absolutely.
And Wales a bit less than you thought.
Oh, totally. I mean, I knew there'd be a wee bit of a change under Gatland, and you guys know more about Gatland than me, but it kind of just shows how great a coach Gatland probably was.
And Sean Edwards.
And Sean Edwards as well, forgot about that, You know, it maybe shows how great they were and that you're missing them, where at least we've got continuity. We've still got Gregor Townsend. And I would argue the pressure is on you guys, because I think 4 defeats in a row, it would be the first time since 2007, which is a long time. And for us, as I say, it's a free hit. Townsend will know he's in a job at the end of the Six Nations, come what may. So, and we'll have Russell back in the summer, I would hope. So there's no pressure on Scotland.
And there's a bit of confidence, sorry.
Oh, and also I would argue we've got Hamish Watson, one of the best open sides in the tournament.
He always is a problem
for
us.
He's magnificent.
Always.
Stuart Hogg's not been at his best, but can be at his best. So I think there's a lot good things happening.
And your loose-head prop has been outstanding. Rory Sutherland
came from nowhere.
Incredible story.
If you'd asked me, would he be starting for Scotland in the Six Nations, I would have said no. He was a slaughter man. He used to take big bits of meat off the van and put them into the butchers.
Really?
That's what he did up about 3 or 4 years ago.
And he was in a wheelchair for a month. After a bad
it's
injury,
incredible.
wasn't he?
He's Scotland get a bad rap, justified. That's very much a middle class private school sport, and that's why we never exceed. He's a working class guy who used to be a slaughterman, who's come through the ranks from the borders. He is the sort of guy, the Scottish rugby, he's become a bit of a cult hero for us during this Six Nations for what he is and where he's gone.
And he's been important in the scrimmaging. And
he's been brilliant.
And that has been an issue for us. And it's interesting that Wales, to counter him, have brought Will Griff-John in. Made a few changes. It's
what did you make of that selection? Because Will Griff-John, he's a player who we haven't seen at all. Hasn't appeared to be anywhere near it. Some question marks about his fitness at international level.
What concerns me generally about the team selection is a trend we're seeing now. we have players starting 1 week and then jettisoned from the 23 altogether.
Yeah,
There's 3 on this
scrum half
occasion.
situation,
Dylan Lewis, Rob Evans, the other prop, and the scrum half situation. Thomas Williams out the 23. The previous time we had a situation where Gareth Davis was out the 23 altogether, having started. It strikes me, you would hope by the end of a championship that you'd have pretty much reached what your best team is. It seems to me that Pivak and Stephen Jones and the team, they're still sort of, shuffling things around and trying to work it out, and it doesn't look that clear what's going on at the moment in terms of selection.
To be fair to them, we have a phrase in Scotland, Townsend Tombola, because he does that as well. He changes winning teams right, left and centre. So that's nothing new to us. Townsend does that all the time. It's just the way he is.
Well, these are losing teams being changed as well.
That's the point. That's the point.
I don't know. Will Griff John, it's a great story for him, and he's come through, and he's a strong, solid scrummager in the Premiership. Rhys Webb, it's been great to have him back in the international stage, and he's probably deserved his start. Corey Hill, an established player. So you can look at all the selections and they make sense. The problem that we've got essentially, when I look ahead to this game tomorrow, is we used to be a side that was Wales used to be a side that was very hard to score tries against. Very hard. Not so much the case in this championship. You can look at the tries that have been conceded, and a lot of them are errors or mistakes or structural problems. And I watched Scotland in that second half, particularly against France, and when Scotland play with width, with Hogg hitting the line, you've got a good finisher in Maitland, you've got a good carrier in Hamish Watson, who's great over the ball. A lot of the issues that Wales have, I fear, could be exposed by this Scottish team.
I think you're right. Just as a Scotsman, up until this year, we always felt coming down here there was an aura about Gatland's Wales. We don't really feel that is around just now.
You were going through Gatland's Gate.
Exactly.
That says it all, doesn't it?
That aura doesn't seem to be there anymore. The only slight problem, or big problem, I feel with Scotland is, I know this is slightly contradictory when I'm saying Russell isn't there. Hastings has played in every game and he's been fine.
Yes.
Absolutely fine. But Hastings is just fine. He's never going to change a game for you. And if you look on the bench, no disrespect to Duncan Weir, although I think I maybe just end up disrespecting him, he's not the sort of guy you'd want to come on and see out a game. He hasn't played for, last week was his first game under Townsend for 2 years. So we don't really have any strength and depth at 10. So if Hastings goes down, I have a real concern, because remember as well, before the Six Nations we lost Greg Laidlaw and John Barclay, 2 former captains and real leaders. That's probably what we're missing.
Johnny Gray missing.
Missing as well. So there is 1 or 2 concerns for me. Scotland as a 15 can beat Wales. Scotland as a 23, not entirely convinced, especially if Hastings gets injured.
Interesting.
Okay, let's put the next on the line then. What's the score going to be?
I think Scotland will win, to be honest.
Really?
I think they've got momentum, they've got confidence, and I think Wales are still sort of struggling in the void a little bit. The transition period is taking a bit longer than people thought it might. I think it'll be quite a high scoring game as well, because I think conditions are supposed to be okay tomorrow.
Roof is open.
Both sides look to play. I think it'll be 24-28 to Scotland.
Wow.
I think Scotland will win. No, that's a big thing for me. I've come down here for years. I never think Scotland's going to win. Never. It's just not in their psyche. I don't think it'll be that high a score, but 25th. Actually, you're right. Actually, sorry, a quantum leap here. Probably roughly about the score that Simon is suggesting. But I think the key is keep these 15 guys on the park for as long as we can, the starting 15. Because we're deep as a puddle on the bench. That's a problem. The longer we keep them in, the better. Yeah. So Scotland win, I agree with you. But by more than 3 or 4, I think it'd be a 10-point game.
Oh my goodness me!
Wow.
And
goodness me, Scottish confidence.
Yeah, for once. Can I just say that, for once?
Yeah, perhaps we better I'd cancel.
Well, just to wrap up on some of the comments, I mean, quite a lot coming through. I get most people saying, this game should not be happening. Or it should be playing behind closed doors. It should be cancelled like the football. One here saying, should children's rugby in Wales be cancelled? I think English youth football has been suspended.
Again, I suppose they will go by the advice.
Same principle.
It is the same principle.
Yeah.
I mean, there'll be hundreds of people in pubs tonight.
Yeah.
Are they cancelling? There'll be Scottish people in pubs. Are they going to stop those pubs opening?
Yeah, that's a problem.
It's a minefield.
I say that is my concern. Us, the Scots, coming down to Wales. Most of thousands who have been in Italy, coming down to your city, to your country, to this game. This should have been thought of beforehand, but I just think we're past the point of no return.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Rob. Thanks for
Thank you
joining
very
us.
much.
Appreciate your time. Thank you, Simon. As always, thank you for joining us. Thanks for all your comments and questions. We will be back tomorrow, assuming the game does go ahead after the match. We'll see you then. Take care.